Okay, chapter 12 is about marketing. So there are different kinds of markets, right, that companies can address. There are consumer markets, industrial markets, and government markets. In any country you have this, right? Consumer markets are the consumer products that individuals use, that you and I use, that we buy in retail stores or online, and we buy one piece of something, right? Food, clothing, transportation, banking, and credit card services, entertainment, and so forth. Those are consumer products, right? Then there are industrial markets. Those are sometimes, where it's divided into business to consumer to business market. That would be a business to business market. That would be a business selling their products or services to another business. So equipment and machinery, supplies, lubricants used in factories, consulting services, accounting services, cleaning services, advertising, marketing, research, raw materials, all kinds of stuff that companies need to acquire to produce their product or services. Like if I have a food service company, I need to buy supplies to make that food, right? I need to have the equipment to make that food. I need to have a service to clean the factory after hours and things like that, right? So that's industrial markets. And then there are government markets, major infrastructure projects that are built and financed through the governments most of the time, right? Such as roads, bridges, dams, airports, communication, clean water, healthcare services, and military operations, right? Those are some of the major government services that a company can sell to. Now, do you think there's a company that has possibly a product that sells into all of these markets, or does a company specialize in only one? Alan?
I mean, Texas Instruments rather famously makes missiles and calculators, so
Yes.
companies try to branch out as much as they can.
Yes, you can sell into multiple markets. Diego?
I'm thinking of software as a service companies. They can at least hit consumer and industrial markets, sometimes government markets, depending on the what you call it, sensitivity of the data that they're using.
Absolutely, governments use software. So software companies, even something as simple as Microsoft, right? We use it as consumers. Companies use it. We use it as a government institution as well, or education, right? We use Microsoft Office. And we use, what is that called? Communication.
Outlook.
Huh?
Teams.
Outlook, yeah. We use Outlook and all that stuff, and so, yeah, absolutely. A company does not necessarily specialize in just one market. They do multiple markets. Some of them, smaller companies, it's possible that you have a small clothing company or a restaurant or something. But if you are going global, you're probably a larger company. So, making the standardization and adaptation decisions. How standard are your products are going to be when you go global? Are you going to keep them the same, or are you going to modify them and make them different based on the country you're going into? So there are different ways. There's standardization, adaptation, and globalization. Standardization uses marketing strategies used in international markets that are the same as those used in the firm's domestic market. We're going to do everything the same. The products are going to be the same, our advertising strategies and so forth, our marketing mix is all going to be the same, right? What kind of product can you think of that does that? Say that again? Apple, yeah. iPhones. I mean, no, you don't even have that anymore. You used to have, it used to come with a plug into the wall. That you don't get that anymore. You just get the cable now. You don't get the wall plug anymore if you buy the new iPhone, right? So it's completely standardized. When you open the package, you choose your language, right? And then you connect to your provider regardless of what country you're in. That's a good example, yeah. Then there's an adaptation strategy. So marketing strategies used in international markets that are different from those used in the firm's domestic market. You do something different now, right? You adapt your marketing strategies and most of your products to the local market. You make changes because of local preferences and customs and regulations and whatnot. Can you think of a company that does that? Diego?
Oh, not specifically a company, but there's been funny instances where like translations of slogans mean something like obscure in the language
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say. And so they have to change the slogan for them to market.
Of course, the textbook, typical textbook example that's used is the Chevy Nova, Nova, wouldn't sell in Mexico because it says it doesn't, it means it doesn't go in Spanish. Nova, right? Yeah. You had a
I like,
Madison.
fast food, they have different venues.
Sometimes fast food companies have different menus. If you go to India, you will have a vegetarian burger, not a beef burger, right? For example. Francesca, right?
I was about to
Oh,
say
you were going to
McDonald's.
say that, yeah. Oleg.
Cars.
Cars, yeah. Give
Like,
me
for
ex-
example, if you want a company example, it's Toyota, which produce for Japanese market right-hand drive.
right hand and
And
English.
left-hand drive cars in the United States, for example.
If you in Japan, you drive on the left and you sit on the right side in the car. Same in England and in Australia. I don't know where else, probably a few other countries.
England,
England, yeah, I said England, yeah. Yeah, so I have done that. Has anybody done that? Yeah, you get used to it pretty quickly, actually. Yeah. I have done that in a stick shift.
same.
Yeah, I've done that 2 weeks ago on a stick shift at a Mini
Yeah.
Cooper, 1969 Mini Cooper. I drove a stick shift from here to Denver.
69,
Yeah, to a classic car show, yeah.
it's a small one.
It's tiny, it's
Yeah.
tiny and it's loud and you're going, it doesn't go more than 70 miles per hour, yeah.
I'd say this is an interesting adaptation for US market. Most cars in the US are automatic. Like
That's
cars
right.
in the UK mostly are manual.
In Europe in general,
Yeah.
much more manual cars.
It's like they have a different license for it too. Like you can get it
Mm,
in England.
They do? No.
Yeah, at least in Scotland, my
Oh, I
friends
don't know,
told me
yeah.
that they have you can get a license for your automatic car, but it doesn't qualify you to drive a manual car.
Oh,
If you want a
okay.
manual car, you need to take a hard
Yeah.
test.
And and other European countries, it's not the case. You have one license, but most of the people get their license using a stick shift. I got my license in Germany driving a stick shift car, right? Yeah. Obviously, if you drive stick shift, automatic is like a piece of cake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Ellen?
I think also a lot of these Japanese car companies that have their luxury brands don't market them as luxury brands in Japan. So Acura
point.
is Honda's luxury brand, but in Japan it's just sold as a Honda. It's not sold as an Acura. Same with Lexus as well. It's not sold as a Lexus. It's just a Toyota.
Because of the culture and you don't want to show off and, it's different in a way. Yeah, I guess, yeah, it's a cultural differences, right? Yeah.
It's also for marketing purpose. This is a great example because I read a book about Toyota and
Okay.
there was a 30% of the book about the marketing campaign in the United States, how they come up with the Lexus
And they did it for the United States
on
specifically.
purpose.
On purpose to make it the luxury model, but it's really the same. It just has a little more knickknacks, right?
This is the best example of adaptation.
That's a very good example. Yes, thank you for bringing that up and for adding to that. Yes. And then we have the localization. That is the marketing strategy that involves pursuing standardization strategy in foreign markets when possible and adaptation only when necessary. So that's maybe something like McDonald's fits more into that. It's still pretty standard, but there are a few adaptations in some countries, right? In Germany, you can buy beer at McDonald's. In India, you get vegetarian burgers. Starbucks in Turkey, you get Turkish coffee, right? There's a little bit of adaptation, but most of it is still pretty standard. And that's usually, with the franchises, it's usually the case because the whole purpose of franchising is keeping them pretty standard, right? Diego?
There's a huge thing with at least in the UK for McDonald's in terms of sugar that they use and also ingredients. So there's like a higher sugar tax in the UK, which prevents you from like using certain products. And also the chocolate's different. So your
Much better.
Is it? Yeah.
Chocolate is
Well,
much better in Europe, but yeah, I mean,
Oh,
and
Europe.
part of that, and UK actually still applies EU standards, even though they're not part of the EU, right? And some ingredients that are used here are banned in the EU. Food product ingredients especially. You should look that up. I think, there might be a,
Red 40.
something in the textbook. Yeah, Red 40, for example, right? Was there a table in the textbook about some products that they mentioned that are banned in the EU? But yeah, there's a lot banned in other countries. You know, one of the reasons why Apple went to USB standard cable now, right, is because the EU made a regulation that if you sell cell phones, you have to have the standard plug. That's the only reason why they did that.
Yeah, although the tough thing about that specifically is it's like, where does that stop, right? The EU, like if the EU can get Apple to switch their charging port to USB-C, then like where does it stop? Like I saw an article from a person and they were talking about how they were concerned that now after the USB-C victory, the EU is pushing for more and more like changes that will actually hurt Apple's business model. Like they want them to open up their sort of their ecosystem, but the ecosystem is what makes the Apple products so good. Is that they can only interact with each other and that it's like a closed circuit ecosystem. That's kind of a lot of the reason why people buy into Apple phones. And so if EU were to do that, they are actually actively harming Apple's business model. And they're shifting it away from what Apple is. Apple, from its inception, has been rooted in this concept of a shared ecosystem. And so if you take that away from Apple, it's sort of like, what is Apple after that?
Yeah, I mean, there are various reasons why they wanted to have that standardized cable. Part of it is waste. Creating waste by having so many it does contribute to environmental damages, I guess, by overproduction. And you got to do this and that. Wouldn't it be easier if we all had the same cable? The cable is probably not that big of a deal. That's not going to make Apple less successful.
No, yeah, no.
But if they go further into it and
But they've talked about going further with.
what are some of the things that they
The
talked about?
ecosystem.
So,
That was
like, can you give an example where they
of how the
making it
ecosystem
open
works.
source or something?
So basically, I think they want to do certain things like force Apple to allow people to download whatever they want onto their stuff. Like not whatever they want, but to like to basically open up their app store so people can put whatever.
Oh,
in
the
there.
apps, yeah, I see.
There was some other stuff. I don't remember. It was pretty extreme though, in that I remember like it goes pretty far against what Apple as a company like stands for in terms of like this goes even as far back as like their older computers. They had it so that they have special screws on there so you can take it apart at home.
Okay,
It's like the whole concept of Apple's products is that they're very tightly integrated and that it's like in-house and it's an experience that you can only get at Apple.
yeah. I mean, at one point, they can go too far, I agree. And this comes back to controlled economies versus free market economies, right? Controlled economies. Europe is more socialist than the United States, right? And that's why they can probably do things like that. In the United States, that probably wouldn't have passed. You can't force a company to use a certain cable if they don't want to, but you can in Europe. And that's because of the governments and economic systems. Diego?
I guess it can boil down to whether, like, who needs who the most, right? Like, if
Yes.
the EU need Apple more than Apple needs the EU. Because if the EU eventually needs Apple more because of the amount of, like, manufacturing, or not the manufacturing.
They don't have no.
But, like, amount of jobs that you would include in, I don't know how many jobs are in.
Well, it does provide some benefit for EU countries because
Yeah.
anytime you sell products and it helps the economy, right?
Yeah.
There are stores, there's tax to be collected, VAT tax that is very high in Europe, usually between 18 and 22%, I think, or 18 and 20% sales tax, right?
Really, talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and it has to go through the legal system, right?
Were they talking about at all, like, the, like, operating software as well?
I'm gonna, you know what, I'm actually gonna find the exact
Yeah,
list of
because
sort of like what
that's,
they were talking about.
Yeah.
But it was, I remember it being pretty substantial.
yeah, because like.
Can you
one of-
share that with me when you find that? Yeah.
You can't put like Google product or Google apps on Apple Store because of the iOS system. It's not coded for that, right? So
Anyway, we gotta go on,
Yes.
right? Sorry, yeah, but it's very interesting. If you share that with me and then maybe next week in class first, when we talk about the news, Tazu, maybe you can mention, share what you find too, but if you can share the article with me, that would be great, yeah. Anyway, developing the international product mix. So options for marketing products overseas, there are different options you can do, right? You can sell the same domestic product overseas, standard products, standard, it's kind of like similar to what we just discussed with these three categories. Modify the products to different countries and regions, develop new products for the markets, something that wasn't there before. As Starbucks did, they did not have Turkish coffee here at all. But they developed, or they didn't come up with something that existed, but they implemented it into their product mix, right? Incorporate all product differences into one design and develop a global product suitable for most of the world markets. So this is basically making everything pretty standard. Not a lot of differentiation between the countries, the products you sell in the different countries. The advantages of that is you have more your production is going to be more efficient. You can leverage things more because you don't have to produce so many different variations of something, right? Yes, Diego?
Just like how we saw the different structures for business, like going from like kind of unstructured to like matrix versions.
Yes.
Is there kind of like a spectrum for standardization? Because I imagine there's some countries that actually want to focus on diversification per market, and some companies that just find that too much.
Yeah, there's definitely a spectrum, right? And it depends on the type of product you're selling as well. There could be a little bit variation to a lot of variation, right? And that all depends on the market in each country too. What do they want? What does the market in that country need or want? You can do anything you want, but they might not buy it. So it's really dependent on the market, how much you're going to diversify or vary your products in different markets. Because if you don't do it, people aren't going to buy it. So there's a lot of variation, of course, again, depending on the market. Does that answer your question? Okay. Product life cycle. So managing, when you have existing products, every product has a life cycle. Just like people, they are born, they grow up, they mature, and they decline and die. Same thing happens with products, right? And it shows how sales and profits are related at each state, right? And I have the next slide will actually show that, right? But it helps international markets decide when to modify their marketing strategy based on where they are in their product life cycle. Product elimination is usually towards the end of a life cycle. When the product is dying, I should have probably showed this slide first, but the best, the maturity stage is when you have most sales. You're not going to let the product die when you have a lot of sales, but eventually sales declines, and if there's no way to revive the product, bring it back, modify it and bring it back or whatever. At one point you have to decide, are we going to keep it, modify it, or are we going to let it die, right? That's called product elimination. Many companies don't have formal product elimination programs. They put together crash programs when products get into trouble. Oh, here's the product life cycle, right? So in the beginning, you have the introductory stage, right? Profits, really, they could even be below the positive line. At the introductory stage, you could even lose money, right? Until the market accepts the product by purchasing more and more, right? So sales goes up and profits, I would actually probably put that a little higher here, but this is pretty conservative. So profits go up as, of course, sales goes up. The growth stage is more and more and more people buying. You're expanding, you're reaching more markets, more buyers and things like that. That's the growth stage. That's a good stage to be in because you're just going to keep growing. Then you have the maturity stage. You can't really go much higher than that. Everybody who wants one of those already bought one, right? And at one point, other products come out, there are technological changes, there's societal changes, cultural shifts, and ages, the generations change, and so forth. People aren't going to be interested in that product anymore. And then there's a declining stage, which sales go down and sales goes down and profits go down. right? And that's when you kind of have to decide, what am I gonna do with this product? Right, you can modify it or you can sell what you have at hand and work on your next product. Now, what do companies do? They don't wait until a product goes into the declining stage. But when they have a product in the introductory stage, they're already working on the next product. When Apple just released iPhone 15, right? They're already working on 16 or maybe even 17, who knows? So there's always, you always want to have, if you have multiple products yourself, right? You always want to have several that are at the maturity stage because they bring you revenue. And which translates into profits, right? Yes, Diego?
So for like taking Apple as an example, for a product that can, like say the iPhone 16 can cannibalize that 15 like sales.
Yes.
So would you want to start marketing it, not releasing it, but marketing it past the maturity state? Because maybe like you can release it like, hey, the 16 is coming soon. I'm like, oh, I won't buy the 15, then I'll buy the 16.
Yes, that's exactly what I did. My iPhone was getting pretty old, but in the summer I was already thinking about it. It had a little crack and stuff, and it's like, I'm gonna wait till the 15 comes out.
Yeah.
But then a friend of mine just bought a new iPhone and bought the 14. The 14 will still be available, right? So they are releasing products pretty quickly and cannibalizing their previous version a little bit, but they're still having enough sales of the new version. And sometimes the new version is not that different, so people will say, I want to spend a couple of $100 less and buy the old version, right? But they still have some that are selling. And they have multiple products. They have iPads and they have iMacs and headphones and what else? And, Apple TV, right? So, but anyway, let's think about like a retail store. Not that it's very international, but Costco. Costco's chicken. The $5 rotisserie chicken doesn't fit this model. Sales are high, profits are below. They're losing money. Why are they doing that? Yes,
They do that so to like draw you into the store and like have you like buy all the other products. That's why they do that.
at the very back, after you walk through the sales, the stuff that's on promotion, the electronics, the nice tables with the new tablets and new phones and everything, foods and the alcohol, and then comes the chicken, right? So yes, but they do have plenty of products that they sell a lot of, so that doesn't matter that they lose money, right? Yeah, but that's only in a retail instance. That's only an example for retail, but that's just to demonstrate that you always have to have enough products that have high sales to support your bottom line, right? Who was that? Yes, Alan.
Yeah, I think the rotisserie chicken isn't the only thing Costco sells at a loss. I read somewhere that actually most of their products are sold at a slight loss, especially in their food court.
Oh, food court is so
And-
cheap.
They do that because they make most of their money off the membership fees anyway, and it keeps customer retention very high.
Yeah.
And people keep coming back to Costco.
Isn't there a rule that you can buy in the food court even if you're not a member? Does anybody know?
It depends on the Costco because
If
sometimes
it's
the food court.
outside?
Yeah, if it's outside, yes, you can, but sometimes they're inside, so you have to show the card to get in anyway, and then it's
Okay.
like in the corner.
Yeah,
So it kind of depends on the structure of the Costco.
I see.
But what was
Outside, they don't really ask for it, right? Yeah.
it? No.
What, were you gonna ask something else?
No, I mean like for interesting part for the chicken, the Costco actually got into the chicken farming business to keep costs down.
They make their own chicken now.
They still get a lot from like third-party providers, but they're supplementing at least part of
Mhm.
what is required for their
Yeah, for their
demand
sales, yeah.
from
Interesting.
like farmers that they are not
Suppliers.
subsidizing. Yeah,
Suppliers.
farmers that they are contracting.
Yes, but they also have their own source now, which
Yeah.
they're probably planning on growing, so they will, yeah, that makes
Costco's
sense, yeah.
farming.
Product counterfeiting is a problem. What is product counterfeiting and what products do we see that are very often counterfeited? Medicines, purses, yes, expensive purses. What else?
Adidas tracksuits. very common,
Adidas, or
especially in
any
Eastern Europe.
other clothing that has brand names, right? Clothing, purses, accessories, and things like that. It's a big problem, and companies are losing money because of counterfeiting, right? It's a damage to the brand by inferior counterfeits. You know, somebody could sell counterfeits and with inferior products. Usually, it is inferior, right? But they're carrying the brand name, sometimes written on it very obviously, and so it dilutes the brand and the quality of the original, right? Diego?
Would copyright infringement be within product counterfeiting, like pirating movies, pirating TV
That's
shows?
pirating. That's not counterfeiting. They're not pretending to be you. They're just stealing it and reselling it. That's not counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is when you make it your own. I mean, when you make the product yourself and you pretend to be that brand, right? But that's another big problem, of course, you know, intellectual property violations, right? Sales revenue is lost to counterfeiters. You know, some counterfeiters are doing really well. You can look at some purses. I've seen purses that are counterfeited. I couldn't tell. Not that I'm an expert, but you know, I have a friend who does use counterfeit purses, and she pays a lot of money for them. They're not $20. They're like between $500 and $1,000 purses that she pays that would typically cost between $5,000 and $20,000. And she'll go into the Chanel store or something with that purse, and they don't notice that it's not real, right? Because they can actually confiscate it from her if they know it's not real. They could take that purse from her. I mean, without violence, of course, but they could, because it's, if you go to if you have a counterfeit product, you're doing something illegal, right? If you buy a counterfeit purse, you go to a Chanel store, you set it on the counter, they could take it from you and not give it back to you, except maybe the contents, because it's illegal. It's illegal to possess. You don't have the right to possess that purse.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can look it up. Diego.
So we're talking about like impersonation, not actual like similars, because like there's like products that are, I think we talked about this in business law, but there are products that are very similar that might cause brand dilution, but I don't think it's illegal. Like
If it causes brand dilution or if it's similar enough, it's illegal. You can't call something similar and have a similar logo. If it's similar enough, it's illegal, right? Yeah. They would, it would usually go to court, and it would they would test it and see, is it similar enough? Is it confusing where people think it is this product or not, right? But that's trademark infringement. That's not, which counterfeiting is.
that's not the responsibility of the consumer, right?
As a consumer, it's illegal to buy counterfeited goods.
I was thinking more like, like before the USB-C change, there were a lot of iPhone chargers that weren't from Apple,
Oh, yeah, but they never
That are
pretended to be from Apple.
but they're very similar in like in design.
Yeah, they are. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think there was ever anything that they needed to worry to go after, but I don't know if they had patent on that particular charger. It depends on the patent. And that charger has been around for a long, well, I don't know if it's not 20 years yet. Patents are usually good for 20 years, right? Almost, right?
But the thing is, you can establish the law, but it's hard to enforce.
Exactly.
You can establish anything. you
And
want.
there's so many
That's hard to
counterfeit
do.
products.
That's how
Alexandra?
it works,
I have
Yeah,
a
that's a
question,
good one.
because I know that for instance, like luxury fragrances, like from big brands, I know that there's smaller, more independently owned companies that set out kind of like this is inspired by the luxury fragrance, but it's not the main
same.
brand, but it still has like all the
Smell and
all the
smells.
smell and like the ingredients and things. That's not counterfeiting, is it? That's more of
That's not, they're
but
trying,
they're not claiming it to be the exact
Yeah.
same, but it's just like this is our rendition.
they can do that because first of all, there's no patent or anything. It's a trade secret,
Yeah.
right? Usually perfumes are a trade secret.
Yeah.
They're not published or anything. So you can't use the same products. You can just simulate it and say inspired by
Inspired
by
it is.
whatever,
Yeah.
and yeah, and those stores can legally exist. You're not pretending to be them, and you're saying, we're not them, we're cheap we're a cheap version of, you know, whatever. So, and that might still, I don't know if that really takes customers away from the original brand
Yeah.
because it's a different price point, different market,
Yeah.
right? Somebody who regularly wears those high-end perfumes is not gonna go to that store and buy it.
Yeah.
Alan?
There is the argument to be made that it is a trademark violation though, because there is precedent for having
That's your
sound,
issue.
for example, be trademarked. Like Harley Davidson trademarked the sound on their motorcycles. So I'm sure a good enough lawyer could probably argue that the scent itself is a company trademark, but also on the other hand, they're usually naturally occurring things. I
Well,
don't know
the-
if you
well,
can
the thing
restrict
is,
other
yeah.
people's use to like pick up vanilla beans and smell them.
The thing is, if they're using the name of the company, which is, then it is trademark infringement. That can be argued in court, you're right. You know, if you take business law class with me, we talk about that kind of stuff in detail. But it can be, they're not allowed to use their name to promote their products, right? So it can be argued. But there are a lot of those stores that exist, right? There are, in big malls and things like that too. So there must be some way that they can do it, but probably certain things that they have to comply with and how they say they're doing it or something like that. But you can't even use your competitor's brand name or trademark in your search engine optimization. You can't even do that when it comes to trademark infringement, but that's another topic. It's also very complicated when you do business internationally because how much are they going to honor intellectual property laws in certain countries, right? Anyway, so sales revenue is lost. There's danger to customers from defective or hazardous counterfeit products. And cost of combating counterfeit products is expensive, both for the companies themselves and actually governments, you know, law enforcement organizations are doing that. But there's so much counterfeit. There's so many counterfeit goods. It's so hard to stop them. Did you have a quick thing or?
I was just gonna ask about the complexity behind it, because there are like some industries, like, this is really off-topic example, but like wine, for example.
Wine?
Yeah, like alcohol in general.
Yes.
The distillery practices, like those things that like are sometimes shared, sometimes not. People like visit other places, they get ideas, they open their own. Like there's a lot of like back and forth in the industry of like things.
That's
that are
just
shared.
copying the competition. You can do
Yeah.
that without, as long as you're not stealing trade secrets or anything,
Okay.
right? And as long as you're not pretending to do that. That's just industry standards, right? This is how, best way to make wine or something like that, right? And you can openly go to
But if-
buy a bottle and try it and try to make a wine like that, yeah.
But if you like start taking away from their business, is that something that you can?
Doesn't matter, you will, yeah, that's good, because that means you're successful.
Yeah, but is that something that can eventually like
No,
run the risk of like people coming after you?
no, if you didn't do anything illegal, that's just normal competition, right?
That's like what Coca-Cola.
Yes, exactly,
Everybody trying to copy that and.
they are
fail
not.
and fail, yeah.
Yeah, nobody can make it like Coca-Cola.
They also spend billions on advertising every year.
Anyway, promotional mix and how you're going to promote your products, and this would be the same within one country too, but internationally as well. So publicity, advertising, sales promotion, and personal selling, and I'll talk about them in the next slides. So advertising and personal selling, you use media, television, radio, newspapers, magazines, direct mail, and so forth, right?
Bless you.
Media can reach a large audience at a low cost per contact, right? In online especially, right? Radio is effective when television ownership is low. This is kind of old. I mean, you know, how many of you watch primetime TV, watch shows and look at the commercials and stuff like that?
Spring.
I occasionally do, but if I do, I usually record it and then fast forward through the commercials, right? So that has died down a little bit, but that's here. But in other countries, it might be a little different, right? And it is different in other countries. People still do watch normal TV, even though they have streaming services as well. But they still do more than Americans do, right? Radio, I mean, I really only listen to the radio when I'm in the car. And when the commercial comes on, I'll switch the station, right? Yeah. But, it's still effective. There's still a lot of money spent. I mean, if you think about TV, if there's a Super Bowl game, a lot of you are going to watch it and you're going to sit and watch through the commercials too. And they're very, very expensive. Some people watch it just for the commercials because they're so creative and cool, right? Not all of them. Anyway, newspapers may have different editions or different parts of the world. Newspapers nowadays, a lot of it is online. And when you read an article for free, you have to scroll through all the ads, right? Even if you don't click on them, you have seen them and you have seen a brand name or a logo. And subconsciously, it's somewhere in your memory, right? And when you see it, when you go to the mall next time, you'll recognize that logo. That might awaken some familiarity. So you're going to go into the store because, oh, that looks familiar. I think I know them. I'm going to go check out the store, right? It's very psychological, right? Magazines are targeted to specific industries. They're vertical and horizontal publications, right? Industry specific, right? Direct mail is not, I don't want to say it's not that common. I still have a lot of junk mail in my mailbox, a lot. Right? Things I never heard of, or big colorful papers in my mailbox that I only go through them to make sure there's no letter in between them or something like that.
Yeah, when we opened the business in San Francisco,
Yes.
direct mail was like 30% of our customers.
Wow,
They came from direct mail.
wow, 30% came
Yeah,
from
and the
direct mail.
price was cheaper than media, like
You were a
Facebook.
delivery service, right? Yeah. And direct mail is cheaper than online advertising. Wow.
For example, for the Facebook marketing campaign or Google, each customer cost us like $200.
$200
to
per
$200,
customers,
yeah.
a customer
Just one.
acquisition. Wow,
Just one.
wow,
Yeah,
And-
and direct mail was like less cheaper.
wow. That's good to know. Yeah, direct mail was much cheaper and
Also-
higher success rate.
Yeah, and it worked very well in New York as well.
New York,
as far
yeah.
as I know,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
Chicago.
That's good to know. Yeah, very, very good. Yeah.
That was like 20,
You didn't expect that.
yes,
Yeah.
21st century.
Yeah, you would
Don't
think.
care
yeah,
about that.
but, yeah. Well, it's good it works, right? Yeah, Diego?
I guess we can also include like search engines on this because there's things like AdWords and AdSense.
Yeah, that's what he was talking. Yeah, Google,
Are you talking about
AdWords and
direct
things
mail,
like that.
you email directly to them or
Direct mail, like the mail,
Oh,
the mailbox. No, not like email. That's why I was surprised.
Wait a second. Did I cover everything? Direct mail, yeah, so personal selling is considered very effective in international markets, but it's expensive because now you have one person selling, right? Personal selling. You are more likely to do that in industrial and government markets, right? Not necessarily in consumer markets, unless they're more expensive products or long-term services or something like that, right? Cars, salespeople. Sales promotions include contests, sweepstakes, coupons, the end of aisle displays, sponsorships, trade shows, and so forth, right? Can produce tangible benefits in short periods of time. You can't run a promotion forever. If you run it too long, you run into the danger that people will expect the price. This is what happened at Subway sandwiches. They didn't used to have a $5 sandwich. And then they had a promotion for a $5 sandwich, which was very successful. I think it was the footlong sandwich, right? And it brought people into the store, so they kept that promotion. And then, I don't remember if they stopped doing it or not, but at one point they realized they have to keep a $5 sandwich now, because people expect that. When they think Subway, when a customer thinks Subway, they think $5. So they have to have, not all of them are $5, but I think they always have at least one $5 sandwich. Or they've had it for a long time. I haven't been to Subway in ages, but they had to keep it for a long time because they ran the promotion too long. So sponsorships are increasingly important. We see that with sports and things like that, with tricots, what is it called? The athletic wear that the athletes wear, their uniforms. Jerseys and things like that, yeah. They have the Nike logo on it and things like that, right? And trade shows are popular for marketing products in foreign countries. Trade shows are not necessarily attended by consumers, but by like resellers or wholesalers and retailers and things like that. And they want to look at what else can we sell in our business, right? Yes, Diego?
Like I remember something funny of like the Nike Jordans. Or it's like the Jordans are like were banned by the NBA at some point, and every time they had to pay a fee for every time Michael Jordan would wear them on the court, and Nike paid that fee because it was worth it.
Why was he, yeah, did you have
So
one to add to that?
originally in the NBA, the shoes had to have a certain percentage of the shoe had to be white. So that was all white.
Oh, that's
So-
why.
So Jordan, when they first signed him, Nike, when they first signed him, they said, we'll make your shoes look sick with the pythons.
Wow.
Because they wanted him.
'Cause it also like stands out, right?
Yes.
Like everyone else is wearing the white shoes,
Mhm.
and he's out here with these black and red
Yes.
like shoes. They look cool. Like,
Yeah,
you
they
want
do.
that.
So that's how they got so it was worth paying the fine.
Plus, you
Have you
get
seen-
added
have you seen-
publicity
have you
from
seen
paying.
Air?
the fine.
The movie?
It was
No, I
really
haven't.
good.
You should watch Air.
Okay.
It's that's
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a movie
I
that
wanna
kind of
watch that.
it covers
Okay.
the story about how the Jordans were made. Really good.
Oh,
not
I
David,
should
right?
watch that. Yeah, maybe tonight, actually.
It's
Yeah.
based on the book.
Okay,
You also get like publicity from
Yeah.
paying the fine as well. So like it's like a double. win.
yeah.
It has
yeah.
I think it's directed by Ben Affleck and it has him and Matt Damon in it.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Damon, yeah. One of my favorite actors, yeah. Thank you for the tip. I'll watch that, yeah, so. And then we have, the problem of, again, back to sponsorships. Kanye West, Adidas dropped it, right? Then those things, the opposite happens, right? But anyway, publicity refers to unpaid stories about firm products, services, and so forth, usually media coverage, right? You might have some media coverage connections. It's very difficult to establish those and things like that, but what you can do is you get a public relations department, and if the media approaches you, you have designated people to talk to them. If there is something, there's a mishap in your company, you did something and the media uncovers it, you better talk to them rather than running away from the camera and then they show it on the primetime news and you look guilty and things like that, right? It's very important what other people say about you in a neutral, other people who are neutral to whether you're successful or not, right? It's not an advertisement. In advertisement, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great, but of course, the company created it and they're gonna say nice things about themselves. But if the media says something nice about you, people are going to react more and take it more seriously, right? So keep publicity in mind, right? Developing an international distribution mix, right? How do you get products to your final customers? There are two major aspects. There's channels of distribution and physical distribution. Channels of distribution is what channels are you going to use to, not physically, but through reselling and things like that, to get your product to the final customer, and physical is how you want. You gotta get the products there physically, right? Let's talk about channels of distribution. There's indirect strategy. It uses existing distribution channels to market its products and services. So there, you go into a country, you have no location there, nothing. You can, let's say you're selling consumer products, you're selling clothes, you can use distribution channels of, and go to the retailers that sell clothes and see what you have to do to get your items into that store, right? Requires no upfront investment because you don't need to have a location there, right? You even don't have to do as many efforts in your marketing. You do, but you're going to be in front of the customer because you are in the store that is visited by your target customers already, right? Market knowledge can assist in introducing products more quickly because the local people that run those retail stores can help you, what you need to do to sell more and things like that, because both of you benefit from the sale of the product. Channels may also carry competitive products. You're gonna have your shoes there and your competitors' shoes are gonna be next to you, but that's the way it is, right? Channels control marketing efforts. So they do have their own marketing efforts quickly, but we gotta run through the slides. Okay, you can ask me after class if you want. Direct strategy, bypassing existing channels by using marketing and sales offices located in the countries. Right, you can go ahead and establish your location, which is more expensive. It's foreign direct investment. right? You're opening a location. You need to hire people, have a sales force and all that stuff, but you maintain control over your marketing efforts, maybe spend more on marketing, right? In this strategy, you don't keep all your profits, you have to give up part of your profits to the channel members, which are also called intermediaries. So they could consist of wholesalers and retailers, right? It's not just you selling directly to the retailer. Sometimes retailers don't buy from the manufacturer, they only buy from wholesalers or distributors, right? So here you keep all your revenue and may have higher profits per product, but you may sell less because you can't reach as many people as you can reach with this model. Two major kinds of channel, there are agents and distributors. Agent is a channel of distribution that represents a firm on a foreign market and is paid by commission. So every time they sell one of your products, they get commission, right? A distributor doesn't get commission, but they purchase a certain amount of quantity and then resell it, right? That's the difference. They buy a product from a firm doing business in a foreign market and then resell them to other buyers or sometimes directly to the consumer. All right. And then physical distribution, storage and transportation operations are used in moving products to a foreign market. Of course, it can be very expensive, right? So you got to have a really good physical distribution network. Issues in overseas market, access to layers of in-country distribution systems, poor logistical infrastructures in certain countries, greater shipping distance requires more emphasis on package design and logistic costs, right? It will cost money to ship products. Last topic is pricing. You have to consider the cost of products and then the attractiveness of competitive products and their prices. You have to see what is the competition charging, if they're similar enough, right? How competitive is my product? Am I different enough that I can't charge more? Or can I be the low-cost leader? Maybe I have a lower production cost, but then you're going to add shipping costs to your production, right? How much marketing support will the product get, right? So you have to consider that. What the demand for the product will be likely. Is the market going to demand high quantities of your product or not so high? And that's, what price do you need to set at what expected quantity you can sell to make it profitable? So those are all the consideration when you set your price. So you can, some of the things you can also do is, or you have to make a decision, are you going to charge the same that you charge in the United States? Or are you going to have a differentiation approach when you do your pricing? What does Apple do? Does anybody know if Apple phones cost the same in every country? Diego,
Oh, yeah.
what do you think? Do Apple phones cost the same everywhere in the world for the exact same version?
Right?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. Part of it is taxes,
the
yeah.
one point.
Yeah.
It's like sales tax, yeah.
Sales tax is big in certain countries, right?
It's not supposed to be the same price because
Mhm,
of the
it's not,
logistic at least.
Yeah, they don't charge the
Just
same.
Like
Yeah,
you can
they-
even
sense.
say that in statewide, because I know like California has like a, what you call it, like a electronic recycling tax.
Yes, there are all of these
This is a
regulations.
Taxation part. Also, there's just logistic, it's common sense.
Shipping
You need to
it,
ship it
and you
somewhere.
need to recover your marketing costs and all that stuff in those countries as well, right? So they typically do not charge the same price in other countries. Some countries are higher than others, depending on the logistic costs and others, and Apple has to pay additional fees to sell their products in other countries too. It's not just the consumer that pays tax. Apple pays import taxes, right? When they go to another country, right? So a lot of times they will have different pricing, right? Sometimes they change the pricing based on the market. Some markets, and let's not use Apple as an example, let's use a more simpler product. Let's use Starbucks. coffee. Do they charge the same in all countries? No, no. What are they? In other countries that you have visited?
I mean, I don't have an example, but like, they're always just gonna wanna charge based on like the purchasing power of like the dollar there, like.
Yeah.
If a dollar is worth more, they're gonna try and charge more for that.
They're going to look at, remember we did the purchasing power parity assignment? That's where they will look at and say, what's the purchasing power? What is it worth? What can people afford? The standard of living and things like that, right? And I have seen, when I'm in Europe, most of the time, it's a little less than American prices, right? Yes,
I think sometimes international, like conglomerate hotel companies, they price match with like local.
yes, absolutely. I mean, a five-star Hilton hotel, for example, in the United States, and I don't know if there's one in San Francisco, it's probably gonna be $800, $700 a night, I don't know, during a busy summer season. Yeah, I mean, I stay in Turkey and it's five-star Hilton hotel, it's something like $300. You wouldn't get that here. You get a Hilton Garden Inn for $300.
I mean, like sometimes like they like, if you find a local hotel that's like at the same quality, sometimes they price match. Like they're like, oh, I'm getting this hotel for this price.
Well, you have to look at what your competition charges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whether it has a name
Depends
or
on
not.
Which demand, which season you are.
Yeah.
They are very flexible.
What is the asterisk?
During the
And
pandemic,
going to,
I used to live in San Francisco in a hotel